So today, we're diving into the story of a young woman named Sabrin. This story comes to us from her best friend, Arza, and it's a really chilling look at how the intense pressure to be perfect can just crack a person's life wide open. And you'll see what can slip through those cracks when no one's looking. All right, let's get into it. This quote, it really hits at the heart of Sabrine's story. From the outside, you'd think she had it all. She was the model student, the perfect daughter. But that flawless image, it was a prison. It was a cage that was hiding a reality no one was ever allowed to see. Okay, so Sabrin was this brilliant university student, the kind of person everyone just assumes is going to have this amazing future. But behind the scenes, her life was anything but her own. Her family was incredibly strict, controlling every single aspect, basically turning her home into a gilded cage. And the difference between her public life and her private one is just staggering. I mean, look at this. To her classmates, she was a star, beautiful, getting over 90% on her exams. But in reality, she was forced to wear a burqa, a full-body covering. Her own father escorted her everywhere she went. She had zero privacy, zero trust. And on top of all that, you've got this relentless pressure to excel in her studies, plus the constant dread of being forced into a marriage she didn't want. It's a recipe for an absolute breakdown. The only escape she had, her only sanctuary, was music. She basically lived with her earphones in, just trying to drown out the entire world. But, it just wasn't enough. The weight of her studies, combined with this looming threat of a forced marriage, it all became too much. She was starting to break. Things came to a head when she had a total breakdown on the phone with Arza. Her friend knew she had to do something fast. She was genuinely scared for Sabrina. So she managed to convince Sabrina's parents to let her stay at her hostel for a few days, and that's what sparked a plan for a real, if very brief, taste of freedom. And for the first time in what must have felt like an eternity, Sabrina was actually free. The burqa came off, she put on jeans and a t-shirt, she let her long hair down, put on some makeup, and sprayed herself with a strong perfume. Each one of these things was a tiny act of rebellion, a small moment where she was reclaiming the person she was forced to hide away. That trip to Mysore was like a breath of fresh air for her, just a moment of pure joy. But on the way, they made a quick, simple stop at a roadside eatery, a dhaba. It seemed completely insignificant, just a bathroom break. But that one single moment, well, that's where everything changed forever. Now, after the trip, you'd expect Sabrina to be totally heartbroken about going back to her old life. But something was different. She seemed happy, almost peaceful. And this strange new happiness, it came with some really, really unsettling behaviors. The first real shock was when Sabrina called Arza, sounding thrilled that her engagement had been called off. Okay, but then came the real bombshell. She told Arza she was in love, that she was dating someone. Now, for a girl who was never even allowed to talk to boys, this was a massive and frankly a very concerning change. And then the red flags just started piling up. Sabrina always had this strange, sweet smell of perfume on her, a kind of oil-based fragrance called itch. She started actively avoiding anything religious. She'd literally walk away during the azan, the Islamic call to prayer. And then this really bizarre pattern started. Every time her family arranged a marriage, Sabrina would get catastrophically sick. I mean, deathly ill. But the moment the engagement was broken off, poof, she'd be perfectly fine again. And through all of this, Arza just kept coming back to one question. Sabrina was supposedly in love, but where was this guy? Where was the proof? Arza, her best friend in the whole world, had never seen a photo, never seen a text message, never even heard his voice. This boyfriend, he was a complete and total ghost. Arza was deeply, deeply worried at this point, so she convinced Sabrin to come stay with her at the hostel again, determined to keep a really close eye on her and figure out what was actually going on. And that decision led her straight to the terrifying heart of this whole mystery. One night, Arza saw Sabrin quietly slip out of bed and head up to the roof. When it happened again the very next night, Arza knew she had to follow her. So she crept silently up the stairs behind her friend, her heart just pounding in her chest. And what she saw up there, it would make your blood run cold. Sabrina was standing there under the stars, laughing and talking to absolutely no one. She was gesturing, having this full-on, animated conversation as if someone was standing right there in front of her. But there was nothing, just empty air. Totally terrified, Arza called her parents, who then called Sabrina's family. And when they all realized this was way beyond any normal explanation, they went for help from a Maulvi, an Islamic religious scholar, to try and understand what unseen force had taken hold of their daughter. And the Maulvi's explanation was something straight out of a horror story. He said Sabrine was possessed by a jinn. So in this belief system, a jinn is a supernatural being, and they're believed to be drawn to humans, especially under a very specific set of circumstances. And this is where it all clicks into place. The Moldy explained that, according to these beliefs, jinn are attracted to a combination of things: strong perfume, uncovered hair, intense emotional states like crying, and all of this happening in an unclean place. And suddenly, it all made sense. The trip to Mysore, the strong perfume Sabrina wore, letting her long hair down, and her emotional breakdown in that dingy roadside washroom. It was literally the perfect storm. And there it was, the terrifying truth. Sabrine's mysterious, invisible boyfriend was the jinn. It had become obsessed, completely infatuated with her. It was the one making her sick, sabotaging every single marriage proposal to keep her all to itself. It was feeding her this false sense of peace and love, all to maintain its control over her. Now, the story doesn't end there. After a very difficult process, an exorcism, Sabrina was finally separated from this entity. She was free from it, but the ordeal left these deep, permanent scars that would change the entire course of her life. So while she was no longer possessed, she was far from free. The psychological toll, the trauma of it all, was just too much. And this brilliant student, the one who was always at the top of her class, was forced to drop out of university. All of her dreams just shattered. Just look at the difference. The vibrant, ambitious young woman who fought so hard for her future was just gone. And in her place was someone silent, withdrawn, with no goals, no ambition. As her friend Arza so sadly put it, she wasn't living anymore. She was just cutting days. This quote from Arza just says it all, doesn't it? The person Sabrine was, the one who was so full of life and potential, even when she was trapped at home, she just vanished. A casualty of a war she didn't even know she was fighting. And that really leaves us with this final, haunting question. She was freed from the jinn, yes. But when you think about the oppressive cage she started in and the empty person she became, it really makes you wonder, was Sabrine ever truly free at all?